Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aiman Akmal from class TIC 110BA. Today our group will present about chapter 9, security, privacy, ethics and ergonomics. We will present under subtopic computer ethics. First of all, we go through for definition. Computer ethics come from two different words, that is computer and ethics. A computer means is a programmable device that store, retrieve and process data. Computer also known electronic device that accept data, process that data, produce output and store the result. Meanwhile, ethics means standard of moral conduct. So we can understand the definition for computer ethics is guideline for the morally acceptable use of computer. Computer ethics also refers to ethical principle for focus on how end users, programmer, and other who are involved with the use and development of computer programs and equipment choose to conduct themselves when making use of computer technology. There are several main functions of computer ethics, among them related to copyright law, software privacy, digital rights management, and so on. First one is copyright. Copyright refers to the legal right of the owner of intellectual property. In simpler terms, copyright is the right to copy. Copyright law gives creators of original material the exclusive right to further use and duplicate that material for a given amount of time, at which point the copyrighted items become public domain. This means that whatever either the author created cannot be amplified or disseminated by anyone else without the permission of the author.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Haziq Zakwan bin Norzeli from class TIC 1102BB. Today, I will explain about software piracy. What is software piracy? Software piracy is the act of stealing software that is legally protected. This stealing includes copying, distributing, modifying, or selling the software. Copyright laws were originally put into place so that the people who develop software, like programmers, writers, graphic artists and others, would get the proper credit and compensation for their work. When software piracy occurs, compensation is stolen from these copyright holders. End-user license agreement. The end-user license agreement is a license used for most software. It is a contract between the manufacturer and or author and the end user. This agreement defines rules for software use, and not every agreement is the same. One common rule in most EULAs prohibits users from sharing the software with others. There are several types of software piracy. The first one is shoplifting. Shoplifting is when someone purchases one version of the software and downloads it onto multiple computers, even though the software license states it should only be downloaded once. This often occurs in business or school environments and is usually done to save money. Shoplifting is the most common type of software piracy. The second one is client-server overuse. Client-server overuse is when too many people on a network use one main copy of the program at the same time. This often happens when businesses are on a local or area network and download the software for all employees to use. This becomes a type of software piracy if the license doesn't entitle you to use it multiple times. Third, hard disk loading. Hard disk loading is a type of commercial software piracy in which someone buys a legal version of the software and then reproduces copies or installs it onto computer hard disks. The person then sells the product. This often happens at PC resale shops, and buyers are not always aware that the additional software they are buying is illegal. The next one is counterfeiting. Counterfeiting occurs when software programs are illegally duplicated and sold with the appearance of authenticity. Counterfeit software is usually sold at a discounted price in comparison to the legitimate software. And the last one is online piracy. Online piracy, also known as internet piracy, is when illegal software is sold, shared, or acquired by means of the internet. This is usually done through a peer-to-peer or P2P file sharing system, which is usually found in the form of online auction sites and blogs. The dangers of software piracy. First, it can increase chance that the software will malfunction or fail. Second, forfeited access to support for the programs such as training, upgrades, customer support, and bug fixes. Third, no warranty and the software can be updated. Fourth, increased risk of infecting your PC with malware, viruses, and adware. Fifth, slowed down PC. And the last one, legal repercussions due to copyright infringement. Digital right management. What is digital right management? Digital rights management is a way to protect copyrights for digital media. This approach includes the use of technologies that limit the copying and use of copyright works and proprietary software. How digital rights management works. Most of the time, digital rights management includes codes that prohibit copying or codes that limit the time or number of devices on which a certain product can be accessed. There are many ways to protect your content, software, or product. DRM allows you to first, restrict or prevent users from editing or saving your content. Next, restrict or prevent users from sharing or forwarding your product or content. The third one is restrict or prevent users from printing your content. For some, the document or artwork may only be printed up to a limited number of times. Next, disallow users from creating screenshots or screen grabs of your content. Set an expiry date on your document or media, after which the user will no longer be able to access it. This could also be done by limiting the number of users that user has. For instance, a document may be revoked after the user has listened 10 times or opened and printed the PDF 20 times. Next, lock access only to certain IP addresses, locations, or devices. This means that if your media is only available to US residents, then it will not be accessible to people in other countries. Next, watermark artworks and documents in order to establish ownership and identify. Benefits of digital right management. First, digital right management educates users about copyright and intellectual property. Most people are not concerned with copyrights and are passive when it comes to DRM. As long as they can access the content they like, they have no issue with smaller details. With DRM in place, companies can communicate to users what they can and cannot do with respect to digital content. Number 2, DRM helps make way for better licensing agreements, and technologies. Digital rights management technologies are aimed at restricting the ways in which users interact with content, such as listening to music on multiple devices or sharing content with friends, with family. Users who do not want to be restrained by DRM codes are able to support vendors who offer and sell DRM-free content, thus encouraging vendors to look for other technologies that are better at licensing than DRM. Number 3, digital rights management helps authors retain ownership of their works. It is very easy for a company or user to copy content from someone else's ebook and rebrand it as their own. With DRM, it is possible to stop anybody from altering content. This also applies to scientists who rely on DRM to protect their inventions. Number 4, digital rights management helps protect income streams. Video and movie makers spend money to create their videos in the hopes that they will be able to recoup their investment once it hits screens, or when it streams or is distributed online. DRM can help ensure that only paying users are able to watch the video or movie. It also ensures that the video is only accessible to a certain audience. For instance, videos with adult-oriented content should only be accessible to adults who can verify their age. The last one is digital rights management can help secure files and keep them private. DRM effectively prevents unauthorized users from seeing or reading confidential files.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Akmal Syawal bin Salman, and I'm from TIC 1102 BA, and I'm going to continue about the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which is DMCA. The introduction about DMCA is the Digital Millennium Copyright DMCA is a 1998 United States copyright law that implements two 1996 treaties of the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. It criminalized productions and dissemination of technology, devices, or services intended to circumvent measures that control access to copyrighted works, commonly known as digital right management or DRM. It also criminalized the act of circumventing and access control, whether or not there is actual infringement of copyright itself. In addition, the DMCA heightens the penalties for copyright infringement on the internet. Passed on 1998 and October 1998 by an unanimous vote in the United States Senate and signed into law by President Bill Clinton on October 28, 1998. The DMCA amended Title 17 of the United States Code to extend the reach of copyright while limiting the liability of the providers of online services for copyright infringement by their users. The DMCA principal innovation in the field of copyright is the exemption from direct and indirect liability of internet service providers and other intermediaries. This exemption was adopted by the European Union in the Electronic Commerce Directive 2000. The Information Society Directive 2001 implemented the 1996 WIPO Copyright Treaty in the EU. Next, the summary of the DMCA. The 1998 enactment of the DMCA expanded existing copyright laws to include address issues associated with the internet and digital media and to conform with the requirement of internationally ratified treaties and the World Intellectual Property Organization, which is WIPO, of which the US is a member. Knowingly, there are 5 sections of DMCA. There was Title 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. Title 1, WIPO Copyright and Performances and Phonograms Treaties Implementation Act. This section serves two purposes. First, it amends US copyright laws to incorporate the WIPO treaties, which are international law. Secondly, it makes it illegal to bypass any technology such as digital rights management software meant to protect copyrighted material. Using or selling technology that allows access to material in a way that violates copyright is also illegal. If you listen to music on your computer in the 1990s, probably this in US, they will probably use or heard of Napster, which implemented technology that violated the copyright of every single artist whose song was downloaded and played for free. Title 1 made doing so illegal. Title 2, Online Copyright Infringement Liability Limitation Act. This section sets forth 4 criteria that, if met, protect an online service provider from having to pay damage in a copyright infringement lawsuit. Title 3, Computer Maintenance Competitions Assurance Act. Because reproducing a copyrighted work often constitute infringement, allowances were made for special situations. This section allows someone who legally owns a copy of computer software to reinstall it as a part of regular computer repair or maintenance. The allowance extends to a third party, such as a computer repair shop, doing the work on behalf of the computer's owner. For example, if a virus infects to your laptop or computer, you can make a backup copy of your hard drive with the intention to upload it again once the computer is fixed, as long as you legally own copies of all the software. Next, Title 4, Miscellaneous Provisions. Clarified and added to the duties of the Copyright Office. Added ephemeral copy for broadcasters provisions, including certain statutory licenses, added provisions to facilitate distance education, added provisions to assist libraries with keeping phonorecords of sound recordings, added provisions relating to collective bargaining and the transfer of movie rights. Title 5, Vessel Hull Design Protection Act. This amends copyright laws to protect the design of boat hulls. Eventually, the easiest one that we can know about copyright is about plagiarism. So plagiarism is representing some other person's work and ideas as your own without giving credit to the original person's work ideas. Example of plagiarism is submitting a paper written by someone else. Probably this plagiarism is obviously doing by university student. Next is using words and phrases from the source text and patching them together in new sentences, failing to acknowledge the sources of words or information, not avoiding quotation marks around a direct quotation. This leads to the false assumptions that the words are your own, borrowing the idea or opinion of someone else without giving the person the credit, starting or paraphrasing a passage without citing the original author, borrowing facts or statistics that are not common knowledge without proper acknowledgement. And next, there were plagiarism that was very obvious and the less obvious plagiarism. For the obvious plagiarism is the common one, when turning in someone else's paper as your own, and that was the most obvious one. And reusing a paper previously turned in for one class and then submitting the same paper or portions of it for subsequent classes without permission of the instructor, that called as self-plagiarism. Cutting and pasting entire sections from other authors' works into your own paper, and using another author's exact word but not putting quotation marks around the quote and citing the work. The less obvious plagiarism, such as failing to differentiate between common knowledge and something that needs to be cited, failing to include complete and correct citation, and it was less obvious, sticking too closely to another author's words by only changing a few words around when paraphrasing, using another author's exact words but not putting quotation marks around the quote even if you cite the work. And that's all for plagiarism, and thank you.